Welcome to Orion Philosophy, where we explore, discuss and dissect areas of practical philosophy for use in everyday life. Today we're going to be exploring the philosophy of Taoism, and how we can use parts of this ancient Chinese philosophy to look at the world in a slightly different way, and in doing so live more peaceful and resilient lives. There was something undifferentiated and yet complete, which existed before heaven and earth. Soundless and formless, it depends on nothing and does not change. It operates everywhere and is free from danger. It may be considered the mother of the universe. I do not know its name. I call it the Tao. An extract from the Tao Te Ching. To make this as easy to understand as possible, we'll go through the origins of Taoism, what Tao means, the core beliefs, and finally how we can use it practically in our own day-to-day lives. Taoism originated in China, widely attributed to the writings of Lau Tzu around 500 BC. It evolved from a rural folk religion of the people into the official religion of the entire country during the Tang dynasty, which ran from around 600 to 900 AD, making Taoism both a philosophy and a religion. The Tao itself remains a difficult thing to explain in any concrete way, which we'll get onto a bit later. However, the principles of Taoism promote achieving harmony or union through nature, the pursuit of spiritual immortality, being virtuous, and self-development. One achieves harmony with nature through accepting that the Tao connects all things, of which you are a part, and accepting your place in the interconnectedness. The pursuit of spiritual immortality does not mean the immortality of the physical body. It is the idea that as Taoists grow closer and closer to nature over their life, they accept death as the final step in passing over to absolute unity with nature and the universe. Being virtuous is an individual's ability to be aware of the Tao, the nature and the flow of the universe, in combination with the person's ability to follow the Tao, instead of sacrificing the way for their own greed, their own vice, temptation, or other draws that cause people to leave the path. Professor Victor Mayer wrote the following: "There is something fundamentally honest and psychologically healthy in being oneself and striding forward with one's vision facing directly ahead, instead of trying at every turn to satisfy abstract standards of goodness established by a reigning orthodoxy." So what exactly is the Tao? Zhang Tzu said, "The way is to man, as rivers and lakes are to fish, the natural condition of life." Scholars have been struggling with defining the Tao for over 2,000 years, and it may well be that it can't be defined in words. But there are interpretations that make the concept a bit easier to understand. At its core, the Tao is not a thing to be seen or felt, or a substance that has form. It is not an object. To some it is understood as the way of the universe, to others the way of nature, and it can also be interpreted as a road, a channel, path, doctrine or line. It is at once the beginning of all things, and the way in which all things pursue their course. Taoism teaches us that the way of Tao is one in which all living things live in harmony with the universe, and with the natural order of everything that exists within it. One central value of Taoism is called naturalness, which explains a primordial state of all things, and is often associated with spontaneity and creativity. For one to achieve naturalness, we have to identify with the Tao and conduct ourselves in accordance with nature. This means detaching ourselves from desire, attachment, and selfish action, and instead embrace simplicity, harmony, and moving with the world around you rather than against it. It's also worth noting that Tao is not God, as some people might believe. The religion does contain gods. However, these gods are part of the same universe as you and I, and also depend on the Tao. Depending on your own personal inclination to accept things that can't be seen or observed, the Tao may be a bit too far down the road towards faith or religion. However, it is an interesting thought experiment, and the ways of living do still provide value regardless of whether or not you view the Tao as a real thing, or as humanity's way of trying to explain something that we don't yet understand about the universe. So we've touched on what Taoism is, but how can we use it in our own modern, busy and chaotic lives? The practicality of Taoism comes from the observations about human beings and our place in the natural world, how we interact with what's going on around us, and what we can do to lessen the psychological burden we carry as we go through life. In Taoism, people are viewed as inherently good creatures, needing only a reminder of their true nature in order to realize this good and make the shift from a life of selfish vice. Taoist teaching explains that there are no bad people, only people who behave badly. Whether that be due to negative past experience and improper education regarding right and wrong, or lack of guidance needed to walk the path of their own true nature, a path in harmony with themselves and others. When one walks the path of Tao, we align ourselves with nature and the order of things, thereby reducing the friction we experience as we live. When one follows a path not of the Tao, friction and obstruction are common and will inevitably lead to frustration, anger, jealousy, and suffering. When we learn to accept life and learn to move with it, flexibly adapting to events in our path, we live more easily, happier, and less troubled. But if a person resists change, these changes become obstructions and lead to resistance, adversity, and suffering. In many ways, while the two have their differences, there are many parallels with what the Greeks and Romans called logos and the Tao, where the logos was a concept used by practitioners of Stoic philosophy to explain the natural order and path that nature inevitably follows. The logos is neither good nor bad. Everything that happens simply happens. The good or bad is projected onto these happenings by the people and how they perceive what occurs. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but the views which they take of things." In both philosophies, all things that happen do so as a part of the natural way of the world. They are neither good nor bad, they simply are. So whether or not you believe that the Tao is a real thing, the principles and way of life that Taoism promotes can still have a positive influence on the way we live our lives, whether it be from trying to live with less resistance, accepting that the things in life that happen around us aren't necessarily good or bad until we have judged them, or simply that to help us act with virtue, we can think about what vices and desires pull us away from acting in a way more aligned with who we are.